just hit the subscribe button, the red button, underneath this video over to the right, and that'll sign you up on my YouTube channel. And then you can hit the small bell icon, so a little bell will go off and tell you each time I've started to broadcast a new one. I hope you enjoy it. The Green New Deal being pushed by the left, particularly by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the new congresswoman, is not just harmless stuff, and it's not just stuff that will inconvenience and disrupt our lifestyle. It is potentially the beginning of tyranny in the United States. It's important for us to see it in that context. Friedrich Hayek wrote the famous book, The Road to Serfdom, right after World War II, I think during World War II. And in it he says that when you set up a goal, a single objective, which structures everything that government does, it necessitates a degree of regulation and a degree of government involvement that ultimately is authoritarian, tyrannical, and can lead to the loss of freedom, or as he puts it, the rise of serfdom. And nothing could better illustrate this than the climate change Green New Deal agenda, where they set up the goal of reducing carbon emissions, and everything else has to fall into place with that. And as with any utopia, it leads to the regulation of every aspect of society. Because while the goal looks great, you need to be sure everybody conforms and all life conforms to it. So every building has to be renovated, rebuilt, and inspected. Every road travel has to be changed. Air travel has to be reduced substantially, or even some say banned. And we have to fundamentally change the way we live, the way our economy works, and the way everything functions, all in the name of climate change. And it's really ultimately not just an inconvenience, but a threat to our freedom. Now, I am a different person on climate change than many conservatives. I do not maintain that it's phony. I do not maintain it isn't happening. I just don't know. The scientific evidence is not clear one way or the other. But what I do know is two things. First of all, we are making major progress in reducing carbon emissions. The United States has cut its carbon emissions dramatically, and whereas 20 years ago it was accounting for almost 40% of the emissions of carbon in the world, it's now down below 20%, I think 18. And China, in the meantime, which used to be 18, is now up in the mid-40s. So unless we control Chinese emissions, it makes no sense to further cut our own. And the second thing I know is that there are so many times when we have undesirable outcomes, but we build remedies to deal with it. And nothing is clearer in that than flooding and water level rising. Half of Holland is underwater, half of the Netherlands, and it's protected by a network of dikes that hold the water back. It's increasingly evident that a wall is going to be needed to save the city of Venice, and they're building a barrier out to sea to hold back the high tides in Venice. And we may need to put a wall at Miami Beach, or a wall in Manhattan, in New York, or a number of other places, and that's an expense you incur. You don't completely change the whole way you live to come around to deal with one specific threat. And as I said, the evidence is unclear. There was a lot of climate change in the 20th century, particularly at the end. But so far in the 21st century, there's been essentially a pause in which there's not been climate change. And the left says, oh, this is just a pause, it'll go back soon. But let's wait till it does and see if it does. And if it does, and then we're too late, as they say, well, build some dams and take care of mitigating the damage, which you certainly can do. And in the meantime, don't talk about curbing America till we get a hold of China and stop them from replacing our pollution with their own. Each year, China adds more carbon emissions added that year than the total of what Japan produces every year. Incredible. I've just written a new book, 50 Shades of Politics, which is unlike anything I've written before. It's a series of 100 short, 2 pages each, autobiographic essays and stories and vignettes and tales from my career in politics, my time with Clinton, my work in 40 countries around the world and in every state in the country. You can't buy it in bookstores, but you can online at Amazon.com. It's not a heavy lift. It's $13.99 for a paperback and $10.99 for a Kindle. Thanks for watching.